How you doing, everybody? Let me fix my lighting system here. Here we go. Get the place lit up. Um, hey, Tony, Jimmy, Abdul. Good to see you guys. We're under a heat dome, so my job today is to stay cool. Um, anyway, so hi, Michael, Tuna. Good to see you. What I'm hoping to talk about today is something that happens when you say, okay, I'm going to pull a trigger. I'm going to make the jump. I'm going to buy that watch. And hi, Ilko. The, the reason I've been thinking about it is because I got a watch and I was thinking about what did I get it for? And I've been very happy with it, but I've been trying to sort of figure out, well, what was going on? Hey, neighbor, how you doing? We're in for a hot one today. Anyway, um, so I'll start off with a story. Hi, Lazard. Here's my story. Oh, by the way, too, is the sound and video everything working okay? Hey, Andrew, everything working on time? Good morning, Jeff. Yeah. Yeah, here we've had unusually cool spring and summer. Today, I guess today is the first day of summer, isn't it? Um, yeah, it's the 21st. First, it's the what the summer solace. Looking at my calendar over there. Um, hi, Jim. Okay. Um, so you guys, the sound and video are okay. Nothing. It's sometimes it goes out, and I've noticed that the numbers on my on my internet connection, so they're down a little. Maybe as more people add, that happens. Hi, Goldfinger. Okay, so let me start with my story and sort of to try to what I'm hoping to talk about. Um, Abdul, I would say the general feel that the watch gives, the dial, case, and crown combination, if they're all harmonizing. Uh, I don't know if my decisions are that thoughtful sometimes, Abdul. That's the way they probably should be, but even that. Let me tell you my story. Okay. I have on my Vacheron Constantin Mercator. I've never had any intention of buying a watch ever. I mean, it was never on my radar or anything like that. One type of Vacheron Constantin I watched from afar were these series of watches. I think they were sort of they're more artistic ones, but they had a series of these explorers and it had a very interesting mechanism to it and everything else. And like I said, from afar, so like that. Now, when I was able to, I had to sell my watch to pay for my car that slammed into, and the insurance paid for what insurance pays for, not too much. Um, so I had some money left over, but I had planned ahead of time to get the roulette Roger Dubuis. Okay. So that was planned. A friend of mine had it, and because I told him I was looking for a La Monégasque, and he had one, but the one he had was this red roulette version. I thought, boy, that'll be nice. So when I had some money, I paid off my car, paid off the hole in our bank account, and a few other things. I had some money left over to get the watch, so I got the watch. And then I was just sort of poking around one day, and I saw this Mercator, and the more I looked at it, the more I thought, "Gee, that's a cool looking watch." But then it was 36 millimeter, which I thought, well, maybe that's just a little low, but turned out 36 works just fine for this watch. That's another thing too. And then I I put in a low ball on it, offered the guy a low ball, and said no. So I figured that was the end of that. Um, and the low ball wasn't like a low amount, it was simply relative to what they were asking for. So I waited a couple weeks and then I raised it just a little and they accepted it. And sometimes did I get it because I was just fooling around trying to get a good deal, or did I get it because I really liked it? And the funny thing is that I've come to like it far more since I've got it than before I had it. But I was trying to think what was going through my head at the time, because there are a lot of other watches that have been on my radar for years, like the Quadrille, a pre-2009 Patek Philippe 5124. I mean, there's lots of watches that I've sort of looked at that were a lot less than I ended up paying for it, which was still a good deal relative to what the market was. But then I was telling you, what did I get it for? And so let's hear why Abdul, your thought process is perfectly rational. Mine isn't. Okay, let's see what you got here. Good morning, Lee. Damon, how are you guys? Some watches make me feel good. That's true. That's true with me too. I think I know ahead of time which ones are going to be, but that's not always the case. Pretty hot here in Germany, 33 degrees. Wow, centigrade. I don't know what that is Fahrenheit. We're just below 100 today. Tomorrow or the next day, we're going to be going over 100. I'm not sure what that is in centigrade. I probably get my centigrade thing set up here. Tuna. Michael, aside from money, there is no logic. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. That was what I thought. You know, that sometimes that works for me. There have been watches I wanted for a long, long time. And once I get them, it just sort of, nothing, they just don't do what I'd hoped they'd do. And there it is. But this one, I don't know why it was so unexpected and turned out to be so much fun to have. I wound it up last night, and I'd been on the time grapher. And my time graphers, they're probably, you got to look at this thing. So I wound it up last night, knowing, having looked on the time grapher, that it could use some adjustment. But then it started the time. I got up this morning, looked at the time, and it was spot on with my computer still. So I don't know so many mysteries we have to deal with. Abdul is free of the responsibility. Is that what to tell your wife, Abdul? It's not mine. It was a good deal, and it's a new model, and I like it. What could I have possibly done? That's I gotta remember that. It's not me, it's just hey, Jeff, the availability of a particular watch. Yeah, sometimes, Jeff, that's the same thing too, is that there's, sort of in the back of my mind, there's a watch that I really like, but I can't afford, and all of a sudden it's available, within my what I call hand grenade range. Yeah. Hey, Lee. Yeah, I tell you, Abdul, Oklahoma's the only place that has tropical weather and dust storms. They got they have what keeps everybody interested. Then they have a flood to clean up, and then they have a tornado to sweep it up. It's sort of like a giant cleaning system that Oklahoma has. I see the watch, buy it, and at times live to regret the decision. Yeah, there's that too, and that would be another question, why is it that a watch that we've, lusted after for a long time, then we get it and it just we never wear it, we don't particularly like it. Hi, Calismon, how you doing? Surely it's the looks. It's gotta have a great movement, but, looks awful, would you buy it? Looks are a funny thing. Um, Sometimes I was looking at a Philippe Dufour 37, okay? Very the 37 was 37 millimeters, and he put it in a case that was, an okay case. The hands were okay. The dial was okay, but knowing what's below that brings out the beauty. You could put it in anything and it would have something. At least that's my case. Now, I know that's not true with everyone. I've heard a lot of people go, "No, I don't like the looks of that," even though it's a really great watch, but that's not for everybody. Hi, Rodza. Do you like Anderson Geneve? I love Anderson Geneve. They're especially ones by Sven Anderson. Seller's remorse and buyer's regret is a thing that everyone is collecting, as I assume, as me. So far, I haven't had seller's regret. That's surprised me because there have been some watches I've worn and just loved, and then had sold them and never had a regret on that. That's sort of funny. In sort of a abstract way, I miss my FP Journe chronomet um, resonance, but that solved so many other problems, and I ended up getting a couple other watches I really like. I haven't missed it. Um, but I not it wasn't a watch that I'm gonna get rid of it. It's simply was more circumstantial. It's a good point though, is that what is it? How do you come to regret selling a watch? And how do you come to regret buying one? I think those are interesting questions too, because you never want to buy a watch that you may regret. In other words, something that suddenly it's there and you can afford it, so I'm gonna grab it. I don't know. Rather buy a Chevy Nova with a V8 than a Mustang with a 4 cylinders. Yeah, what's inside does matter. It's sort of like I'd rather have a stick shift than an automatic than a a watch with a regulator that has to be regulated than one with a silicone hairspring. So Sort of preferences. Challenging looks often have a beauty of their own. Tuna, I agree. Sometimes, it's like I've heard people just sort of thundering come out, "Oh, that's an ugly watch." But yet they're wearing one of the most boring, unoffensive watches imaginable. It's sort of if a watch is unoffensive, that's probably the last one I'd wanna buy. I mean, if I like watches that at least some people would say, "You're crazy." I don't think everybody would appreciate a watch with a navigational compass, hands going like that, and, um, but, it's a lot of fun, and I enjoy it. Hey, Vinyls, how you doing? Okay, what else we got here in terms of buying decisions or regret decisions? Before even money, it's how a watch makes me feel. I think, yeah, it's an intangible. I agree with that. You got watch whenever I put this one on, I feel this is a fun watch to have. Makes you feel good. Um, I feel that my problem is I'm starting to feel that way about all my watches because I learned enough to know what I like. And so here I got these cases of watches and I want to wear all of them at the same time, but I got to rotate them. And then I found out something. Um, my Larique Etude number one, which I really like that watch a lot, but in the rotation, it wasn't getting wound up enough. It wasn't getting used enough. And boy, I tell you, I learned that lesson some time ago. I was told, you should wind up all your watches at least once a week, or maybe it was every 2 weeks. I don't know what it was, but boy, I tell you, that's true. All of the fluids that keep everything nice and even, they can sort of go away unless they're mixed around with all of the other things that are going on in your watch. So, yeah, that's the thing. I've been winding everything. I was just winding this one. I'm gonna decided this one is on for tomorrow. This is my Chanel, Monsieur Chanel jumping hour at 6 o'clock, and then the main dial is a retrograde minute. And then that little thing in the middle has got an eccentric second hand too. You know what? I just realized something. This is set up like a regulator. I never realized that before because you have separate, um, staffs, I guess, or separate sub-dials for down here the hours, there the seconds, and up there none of them are on the same, stem or the, shaft. Anyhow, we discover things all kinds of time. Fun is a good key word. Yeah, that's important. I'll tell you, speaking of fun watches, I had a video the other day on underdog watches, and I see those as essentially fun. The horology is ranges from the Seagulls on their entry level all the way up to a Solita on their top level one, but they're all fun. I mean, there's something about them that's interesting, that's, um, I don't know, just fun. There's, my I guess it just to the people who are usually interested in the kind of videos that I have, they didn't think so, but that's okay. Hey, Jimmy Ed. I definitely look at mechanisms. The more I am, more I learn, but I can still be tempted by a seagull movement in a nice case. Yeah, something, Jim, I got this peacock tourbillon. I mean, the peacock is what I found out. There are these different companies in China that make watch movements, and they have different reputations. It's sort of like, even though they would have a similar design on the dial, I mean on the movement, the quality rating can be different, even among different Siegel factories. So I was reading about the one, and I forgot the name of the town that it's in. And when a town, it's only 3 million in a village, big towns there. So they have, but I was reading about it, and they were special in certain ways. Um, the watch itself reminds me a lot of a Grand Seiko, and so but the idea of the stereotype is, well, first of all, it's not Swiss, or anything else like that. It took a long time for the Japanese Seiko to be accepted. I got a feeling that in time, we're going to see some really good Chinese watches. One of the things that I mean, for especially if you're interested in really great horology, you've got guys like Jaime Asoka in Japan. Now his stuff is way up there. I mean, he's got the same kind of quality that FP Journe has and Caribou and Lana, and in fact, in some cases, even more. And I think that there's some Chinese watchmakers, independent watchmakers, and that independent AHCI, whatever the one that FP Journe, Caribou, and all these top independents are in, and they're starting to have some more Chinese and Asian, other guys from Singapore, I think, Ming, I believe, who are beginning to come out, and I think that that's going to have an impact. We'll see. I mean, we get buffered around by so much stuff. I mean, like some politician makes a decision, and the next thing we know, everything is upside down. Okay, what else we got, guys? Damon's point is, I'm the same here, exactly the same as Damon. I've never I've never tried this watch on. I've never seen it in person. I've never seen a La Monte Gasp. Everything was on the internet. Um, most of my watches are that way. I got early on. I got my first Patek Philippe from somebody in Houston that I'd never heard of before. Some little dealership that they had there. Yeah, that's something else. Is that with the internet, you can find anything you want. You go down to especially here in the Hartford area, if I go down to my fancy jewelry store, not too much. I mean, I think the best they have is Rolex, probably. And they used to have Patek Philippe, but that got moved out. And I don't know. Andrew, I have 3 Studio Underdog watches. You're right. They're fun and far better constructed than most believe. Yeah, that's something else too. These guys won a Grand Prix award, and they have there's their attitude toward watchmaking. I think is a very good one, and but they're not pretentious. They're not like me. Okay. These guys are very down to earth, but they want to have some fun with their designs and things. So I think that, and then they're very affordable, relatively speaking. So yeah, yeah, okay. You got QC problems. Sorry, that's something you can't get away from. I see. My experience with a Siegel movement that I got some years ago from a place called Perpetual Watches in Hong Kong, just because I wanted to check off my um, regulator type of watch. But the thing works perfectly. Still works great. I don't have any QC problems with it at all. But that's something that's important, though. I agree with you on that. Okay. Um, Abdul. Abdul has a magic word, research. I I tell you, I was talking with my friend Fernando the other day, and we were talking. Both of us are broke right now. What I'll say is we're watch broke, um, but it's a lot of fun. The shopping, sort of, we're like window shoppers. I I enjoy doing a lot of the videos I do because I get to go out and I do all of this research and finding out interesting stuff. So Abdul has, to me, is is the right attitude. This is not something. If finding out about watches is work, what kind of collector are you? It should be fun, and then follow up on the thing. People find out one thing, and they oftentimes don't follow up. Um, like you might want to find out the if it's an ETA movement. Sometimes it doesn't hurt to follow up or where that come from. Was it Valju? Was it Peizu? Was it, whomever? But that's interesting too, because at one time, Valju used to be like, hey, if you want to get a top notch a movement, get a Valju. And so here you have all of these former Valjus that are now made by ETA. Those are not bad watches at all. I mean, movements. Hey, Jeff, my biggest evaluation of my collection that makes, oh, thanks. um, okay. What? How does, go ahead, Michael. I noticed someone on the online, the watch looks great, but when a friend is in a store, it didn't like it that much. Cartier Santos, a large shoe bag. Michael, that's true. In some cases. I went in, I was looking at Laurent Ferrier watches, and I went into Cellini's and I was trying on a bunch of them. It's a funny thing. They're beautiful watches. It wasn't that. They didn't feel right. There's a certain amount of heft that I like in a watch, and so I probably ought to stay away from titanium, even some very light steel watches. But with Laurent Ferrier, I tried them on and they just didn't feel right. And the some people say, well, you should have got, tried one on in gold or in platinum, and then you'd get the heft you like. So yeah, if you can do it in a store or take a look at it in a store. There's some other watches though. I was, when you go to a watch show, you're trying on all kinds of different watches. That's a really good source to check that out. But the reality of it is that I don't. I get everything online, or most everything. There's there's just there's not a store near me that has the kind of options. If I go to New York, I'll go down to 47th Street. I'll go to Cellini's. Cellini's, though, they're beautiful watches. They're very expensive. I mean, they're like they have nothing but top brand watches. Boot and Lannon's, um, uh, Mertz Grossman, H. Moser, um, nothing but top of the line watches, Laurent Ferrier. So, uh, yeah, but I don't, but then they're really expensive, and I have to have just the right amount of money. Plus, there's a New York tax on top of that, which is you have state tax plus New York City tax. They get pretty hefty. Uh-oh. My time is up. Okay, guys. Thanks, Abdul. Anyway, um, we'll think of something fun to do this afternoon. Thank all of you for coming, and let me thank my internet for not blowing up or doing something crazy today. Take care, guys. If you're in Germany or in just about any place in the United States, try to stay cool today. Let's see you guys.